All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, teams theoretically play all season long in the NFL for home field advantage, but that theory has been put to bed at least this weekend as all three road teams so far have won in the postseason. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals held off the Tennessee Titans yesterday, while the San Francisco 49ers arguably pulled off the biggest upset of the playoffs so far as they shocked the Green Bay Packers last night at Lambeau. And then, of course, that epic earlier this evening that we just witnessed between the Los Angeles Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the Rams held on to advance to the NFC Championship game. Now, I talked about it last night after the Bengals won, that the Titans were done in by the play of quarterback Ryan Tannehill. And I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it in the realm of sports, not just football, but in the realm of sports, what you cannot do well always shows up at the most inopportune time. And the thing was, Ryan Tannehill has been a question mark for the Titans for a very long time at quarterback, and that showed up again last night. And I talked about it last night, and I'll talk about it briefly again. The first play of the game for the Titans was, and it was the first play of the game overall. It was a play action pass, and Tannehill threw an interception, and that was just an omen of things to come. The frigid cold, at Lambeau, affected both teams, but you know what? Credit to the Niners for shutting down the Packers' offense after their opening drive. I mean, Green Bay got the ball uh their first drive of the game, and they marched right down the field and scored a touchdown. And it just looked like one of those things, like the floodgates were going to open up due to the fact that the Packers had to bye last week. The 49ers had a rugged and physical game with the Dallas Cowboys, and that was not the case. The Packers were held out of the end zone for the rest of the contest. Credit to not only this Niners defense, but also their special teams. We saw the blocked field goal just prior to the end of the first half. And that was very important for the 49ers. It looked like had given up so much momentum at that point. They were driving, and then we saw Jimmy G throw the interception down in the red zone, and that took points off the board for San Fran. They had at least 3 points in their back pocket at that point. That was not the case. And of course, when Aaron Rodgers, made that big pass down the field on that busted coverage, it looked like Green Bay was going to have a chance to get a touchdown. The Niners defense stiffened, and then the special team stepped up with the blocked field goal. And when it was 10-3 in the fourth quarter in this contest, we saw the block punt. And, it was one of those where it just took the wind out of the sail of both the fans at Lambeau and the Packers team as well. Because, the Packers defensively at that point, I really think that they felt that, no matter what the Niners threw at them, they had an answer for. And that blocked punt just really, just took everything out of the Packers fans, and it took something out of that team as well, I believe. After that, the score is knotted at 10-10. That defense of the Niners, especially that front four that had been so physical throughout, so aggressive and so relentless in their pursuit of Aaron Rodgers, they were able to throttle it up to another level as the momentum had shifted to the red and gold from that point. And they did what they had to do. And a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, who was, playing bad up until that last drive when the Niners needed him. He came through. He found the likes of George Kittle, his all-world tight end. About the physical running of both Debo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell for the 49ers. And before you knew it, they got into field goal range. And Robbie Gould did his thing. He kicked the game-winning field goal, and the Niners were bound for the NFC Championship game. And you looked at today's game, and the Rams just came out like gangbusters. I mean, the Bucks got the ball to begin the game, and they had a solid drive going, and then the Rams stopped them. Rams went right down the field, scored a field goal. Right after that, the Rams made another stop on the Bucks. Before you knew it, it was 10-0. And it seemed like everything was going in the Rams' favor. They had a 20-3 lead. They intercepted Tom Brady. There was a questionable call in this contest. Looking back on it, it was definitely roughing the passer. As for when Von Miller hit Tom Brady, and I honestly, to the letter of the law, it is that case. And then, of course, Tom Brady got the unsportsmanlike foul after he was pleading his case with the game official. But nonetheless, Tampa Bay, they looked like this. They were going to get blown out. They were down 20-3. You didn't think about it as much with the fumble by Cam Akers at the goal line just before the first half ended. But then, we saw the Rams be able to extend their lead to 27-3. But you know what? You still wanted to watch because you've seen what Tom Brady has done late in games, and you never want to count him out. And that was once again the case in this contest. It was 27-3, then it was 27-6. And it seemed like every time that the Bucks had an opportunity to put this game away, they simply were giving it back to the Bucks, and giving them an opportunity to get back into this game. I mean, the fumbles from Cam Akers, the bot snap. I mean, I don't, and that was right on the heels of a Brady fumble and turnover for the Los Angeles Rams. They had an opportunity to salt this game away, and they didn't. And then we saw another Cam Akers fumble later. And before you know it, it's 27 apiece. It looked like this game was going to go to overtime. I said to myself when Leonard Fournette scored that touchdown that it's probably that, you know what, I felt like the Bucks just left too much time on the clock for the Rams. Don't get me wrong; you have an opportunity to score a touchdown, you score. But nonetheless, credit to Byron Leftwich in that situation for the fact that he knew that everybody on the Rams was going to be playing quarterback sneak, and they did. Nobody expected the ball to go with Fournette, and of course, the rest is history. But then, the Bucks, they rolled the dice and they came up snake eyes when they decided to blitz from the secondary, and they left Cooper Cup one on one with Antoine Winfield Jr. No disrespect to Antoine Winfield Jr., he's one of the better safeties in the NFL right now. But we've seen what Cooper Cup has done so far this year. And if you're going to leave one of the better wide receivers in the NFL on a safety, typically advantage to that wide receiver, which was the case. You look at it, the Rams, and more importantly, Matt Stafford, he pulled something out there at the end. He made the big plays on that final drive, on that game-winning drive to get his team to the NFC Championship game. And I talked about coming into the postseason. Would Stafford be able to beat both Brady and Aaron Rodgers in order to get to the Super Bowl? Now he doesn't have to do it, but he's still going to have to deal with a quarterback and a team that simply has his number. We've talked about Sean McVay and the Rams having the Bucks number as they've won all three contests since Tom Brady joined his squad. But on the flip side, for the Rams, the 49ers have their number. They've beaten them twice already this season, and we're going to see if the 49ers can do it a third time. And I know it's difficult to beat a team twice in a season. The Rams were able to do that today. It's even more difficult to beat a team three times in a season. Not to say that it can't be done. I mean, we've had some teams do it, and obviously, of course, to beat a team three times, you have to play in the same division, and then you still have to meet in the postseason. And I mean, it's happened. I mean, sometimes some instances that have come to mind. The '86 Giants beat Washington three times en route to winning their first Super Bowl championship. The '82 Dolphins did it as they beat the New York Jets three times. The '97 Patriots did it three times as they beat the Dolphins. The '94 Steelers did it and beating the Browns. Most recently in 2009, we saw the Cowboys do it to the Philadelphia Eagles. So, and there's other instances with it as well, but those are some that play out. And the thing is, you look at it, and the Rams are a very good team, but the Niners are a physical team, and the Niners are relentless. And you look at it, and it's the way that this team is built. They're built from the inside out, and that's a credit to their general manager, John Lynch, for what he's done. The Niners are solid in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and you look at the way that they rush the passer. They didn't have Nick Bosa for the second half of that Dallas game last week, and they still rushed the passer well. Everybody, is back on board right now for the Niners defensively. So I think this is going to be a great game. I know SoFi Stadium is going to be rocking. It's just a matter of whether it's going to be Rams fans or 49ers fans, because we saw plenty of Niner fans make that trek, that 3 hour trek down from the Bay Area last weekend, or pardon me, to week 18 to SoFi in Inglewood to see their team. So that's going to be very interesting as well. I want to get to some comments here. One from my boy Andre. He's chimed in before and he has a question. When was the last time that a team blocked a punt, blocked a kick, and returned it in the playoffs? Wow, that one you've even stumped me. Special teams are so important, and you have people that want to gloss over that. And for me, those are outsiders looking in. And I say that because, you know, any coach will tell you how important special teams are. It comes down to field position, in this case, block punts, you name it. And I mean, we saw that today because the Rams missed a 47-yard field goal, which was another opportunity for them to ice the game. But, their guy Matt Gay was able to come up at the end and hit the game winner. So that just gives you an idea of it right there. Both teams missed kicks. But, getting back to the Packers Niners contest last night, assignments on punt protection are so important. And special teams coaches, they stay up late at night trying to draw up different designs as far as getting to that punter and rattling him. And remember, we saw the 49ers get very close last week against the Dallas Cowboys. They had Dallas 4th and 20, and they went for the block and they just missed it. They got called not for running into the punter, but roughing the punter, and it gave Dallas the automatic first down. Last night against the Packers, that was not the case. They got home, and not only did they block it, but they were able to return it for a scoop and score. And that's the thing, because when you hear that double thud, you don't know where the ball is going to go. And of course, all of the guys for the Packers that are lined up at the line of scrimmage, for the most part, they're already in the process of getting downfield. So advantage 49ers, because when you looked at it, there was a convoy right there. Three or four 49ers had the opportunity to pick up that ball and get to the end zone. And again, I can't harp on it enough. The momentum shifted in that one. So, I mean, credit to the Niners. They balled their defense balled out, and they saved their quarterback, Gigolo Jimmy G, and he was able to make the key plays on that final drive for them to get them into field goal range. Now, Andre is saying again that the Bucks should cut all of the defensive backs. They were terrible. They missed several tackles and blew coverages. Well, there were some missed tackles by Tampa Bay in that game on the back four. And surprisingly, this was the first time that this Bucks team, like all their projected starters that they had on defense this year, played with each other. And that's no excuse for the missed tackles. But you look at it, typically, it's that communication and camaraderie. And, the defending champs, can't really call them the defending champs anymore. But the thing is, they missed that, I think, this year. They wanted to run it back. They gave it, their best shot, but they ran into a very good team today, and they just couldn't make those key plays. Because you look at it, they had their opportunities on that last drive to step up and make the key plays, and they were done in by Cooper Cup. And it's one of those where you don't want to let the best player for the opposing team go out there and beat you in those key moments. You want to make somebody else step up and do it. And I mean, honestly, maybe Todd Bowles is thinking about it. Maybe he should have dropped back and made Stafford, go underneath to a guy like Cam Akers, who had already had two fumbles in this game. But you know what? It's easy to sit back and play Monday morning quarterback as opposed to being in the heat of the moment. But you know what? Again, that was a very bad decision to leave uh, Antoine Winfield Jr., who again is one of the better safeties in the NFL, but having him guard one of the better wide receivers in Cooper Cup, that is very tough right there. You look at it for the Bucks, and I mean, honestly, we don't know what's going to happen with this team heading into next season, because you're hearing the questions for Tom Brady. Maybe this is it. Honestly, if this is it for Tom Brady, love him or hate him, he's had one hell of a ride. And I'll tell you like this, not in our lifetime are we going to see a quarterback win more Super Bowls than Tom Brady. I mean, 7 is very hard to come by. I mean, the next closest is 4, and that's Terry Bradshaw and that's Joe Montana. And I know people have talked about, like, obviously earlier in the career of Aaron Rodgers, that he was going to, add on to those championships. People have talked about Patrick Mahomes, and of course, Mahomes is in a battle right now with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to get to the AFC Championship game. But you know what? Winning championships, they're not easy. Obviously, it's a team effort. You need to have the right people around you. But you think about all of those key moments where Brady made those key plays, and it's not just Brady, but the people around him. And the thing is, when you have a guy at quarterback that could get the job done in those clutch moments, you're going to go out there and do whatever you have to do. And I mean, honestly, with today, with the Bucks were dead in the water, but you know what? Their defense found a way to fight, scrap, and claw. And of course, their offense fed off of that momentum because at first they were not playing good. But again, for TB12, if this is it, it's been one heck of a ride. I'll tell you like this. I'm not sure if he's coming back. I'm not sure if he is going to come back, but I will say this. Obviously, the decision will be his. I think he's earned it at this point in his career. Also, on top of that, you look at it, and the thing is, if Brady goes, a lot of things are going to change with this team because you figure a lot of guys, they took the quote unquote hometown discounts to try to come back. If Brady goes, Gronk is going because Gronk is just, he's along for the ride. He's going to play as long as Brady plays in Tampa, and that's going to be it. Bruce Arians, he's one of the older coaches now in the NFL. Would he be ready to ride off into the sunset as well? We'll have to wait and see. A lot of questions for the Bucks going into the off season. A lot of questions for the Packers. Is this it for Aaron Rodgers? And it's something that Dre, put in the chat as well. For me, this is a slippery slope because you look at Green Bay, and Green Bay invested a first round pick in Jordan Love. And at some point, you're going to have to see what this guy can or cannot do. We saw Jordan Love briefly earlier this season against the Chiefs. It wasn't, he had his flashes, to say the least. But, if you're the Packers, you have to ask yourselves, are you ready to cut bait with A-Rod and go with Jordan Love? Or would you want to do something like we saw before with the Patriots, where they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo to be the heir apparent to Tom Brady, and Tom was still playing at a championship level. Bill Belichick wanted to trade him. Of course, Robert Kraft, the team owner, said, and it was Jimmy G who ended up getting traded to the 49ers. Now, would you want to trade Jordan Love and try to get it done once again with Aaron Rodgers? We'll have to wait and see. But this Packer organization as a whole, I mean, there have been so many playoff frustrations for Aaron Rodgers. You think about how many times the Packers have been there, been so close. First and foremost, he has had his own personal struggles with the 49ers in the playoffs. You look at the times getting to the NFC Championship game and not getting it done. He's also had his struggles with the Arizona Cardinals in the playoffs as well. So you look at it, this Packers team, they've been right there. They've been in contention as long as A-Rod has been under center. But with the exception of 2010, they have always fallen short in the postseason. So you have to ask yourself, is this Packers organization ready to start over? Or are they going to give it another shot with Aaron Rodgers? And at the same time, Aaron Rodgers knows that his best wide receiver, Devontae Adams, needs to get paid as well. So we're going to see what happens there. A lot of question marks for Green Bay. Like I said, a lot of question marks for Tampa. I talked about the issues with the Titans yesterday. But the thing is like you look at it, the Bengals, of course, they're waiting for the winner of this contest right now with Buffalo and Kansas City. Cincinnati, they gotta like their chances with whomever they play. They know that they're going to be on the road. I talked about it yesterday as far as the Bengals playing with house money right now, but the Bengals know that they're 2-0 all time in the AFC Championship game. Of course, both of those games were played at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. Of course, that is a venue that no longer exists. On the flip side for San Francisco, this will be their record 17th trip to the NFC Championship game. They're 7-9 all time. And you think about it, the Niners have had more appearances in this conference championship game than the Steelers. Teams like the Dallas Cowboys. I know the Patriots have really caught up during the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick run, but it's still the Niners who have been there so many times. You think about all of those epic battles in the 70s, 80s, and 90s with the Dallas Cowboys in the conference championship game. They met the Giants a couple of times, the Bears, the Packers, and I could just go on and on and on. So the Niners want to try to, make it their eighth conference championship. And a very interesting tidbit: whoever wins the NFC Championship game next Sunday, whether it's going to be the Niners or the Rams, they are going to play two consecutive games at SoFi Stadium. So we're going to see how that works out. If it's going to work out for the hometown Rams or if it's going to work for the Niners. And I'll tell you what, it's only going to add to this rivalry. I mean, people are happy, to see the Rams back in LA. And, at first, they had a good start in St. Louis. And of course, it fell off. That's a whole nother topic for another podcast right there. But I will say this: there's a generation of fans out there that really don't understand the rivalry between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams and what it meant for so long on the West Coast. So now it's getting turned back up again since the Rams returned to Los Angeles. And the fact that both teams are in the playoffs and both teams are in the conference championship game. And these two teams did meet in the 1989 version of the NFC Championship game. It was the Niners who dominated the Rams on that afternoon en route to repeating as Super Bowl champions. But nonetheless, this has been one of the better rivalries in the NFL. And now it was dormant for a while, obviously, with the Rams being in St. Louis. Now it's coming back. And when you think about San Francisco, LA, of course, most people think about the Giants and Dodgers, rightfully so, one of the better rivalries in Major League Baseball. And of course, this past MLB season, we saw the Giants and Dodgers meet in the postseason for the first time. Now we're going to see the Rams and the 49ers get it on as well. So it's going to be a great conference championship Sunday. It should be a dandy, just like this postseason has been so far. My good friend Dre always talks about, on any given Sunday, anything can happen. We've seen that this weekend with the playoffs, as it's all been about the road teams. They're the road warriors. And let's see what conference championship Sunday has in store. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.